Valley Talk on News Talk 1580 KGAL.
Welcome to Valley Talk. Hope you found your way through the fog this morning. You know, as Radio Ray and Mark were talking about this morning, we weren't supposed to have fog this morning. We missed the freezing rain yesterday, and then this morning we had the fog, and that wasn't in the forecast, but hopefully you were able to navigate through that, and here you are on Valley Talk this morning. We have an interesting show. I always like to support the veterans. In fact, I'm a media liaison for Vets Helping Vets HQ. Victor Coons has the Vet Talk show here, second to Wednesday of the month. Also been involved with something called Operation Eagle's Wings, where we look for stories honoring veterans and sharing their story. So this first part of Valley Talk this morning is much the same way. We have Louis White in the studios with us today. He's a volunteer for the Albany Regional Museum. Louis, thank you for being with us. And by the way, thank you for serving your country.
Well, thank you, Dave. I'm glad to be here.
Second half of the show, we're going to be talking about a gluten-free lifestyle. And we have RN on call. We have Nadine Brzeskowiak. Did I get that right? Brzeskowiak. Okay, she'll pronounce that name for me, and I've been trying it for a day or so, and I'm trying to get it. But Nadine will be in here, and one of the things she'll tell me how to do is pronounce her last name. She is with RN on call and talks about a gluten-free lifestyle and why that's important, how we do it, and so on and so forth, how she can help you do it. That will be 11:30 to noon today on Valley Talk. Also, don't forget to sign up for Quiznos Taste on Us. Send me an email. Dave@kgal.com is the email address, and put Quiznos or Taste on Us on the subject line, and you will get, hopefully, we'll draw your name out, and you will get a $10 gift certificate from Quiznos in Albany. You can also call the station 926-KGAL or 451-KGAL. We pull out one name. That person will get a $10 gift certificate from Quiznos, Albany, Oregon, right next to Novak's Restaurant, right next to the former G.I. Joe Sporting Goods location. Dale, thank you for being a part of the Valley Talk family here on KGAL. Louis White, guest number one today, volunteer with the Albany Regional Museum. Love veterans, love supporting veterans. You're a veteran. Thank you for serving your country. When you see a veteran, just thank him for what they do, because they sacrifice time away from their family, and they help keep this country free. And as great as she is, the greatest nation on God's green earth, as one of our talk show hosts says here on KGAL. Louis, you've got an interesting project. What you're doing is you're preserving the history of the Veterans Day celebration here in Albany since 1919.
That's true, Dave. Just a bit of background. Veterans Day observances actually started out with Armistice Day in November 11th of 1919. And in World War I, veterans were invited downtown Albany to make some noise to commemorate the first anniversary of the end of World War I. And bring your garbage cans, lids, and pots and pans, and even your shotguns downtown to make some noise. Try that one today. And it continued on through up into, I think, in 1951. And until any observance was a handful of veterans walking a couple of blocks up to the courthouse steps, a few people watching. The Dr. Reverend Morton Booth would make a speech, and they would then adjourn to, I think, the American Legion Hall or whatever the facility they had at that time. And in 1951, well, in fact, a news reporter for the Albany Democrat-Herald at that time said the observance was spiritless. And in 1951, the Lynn County Veterans Council was formed to bring together the various veterans organizations within Lynn County and kind of serve as a nucleus to do something about getting this turned around and giving more respect to our veterans. And the following year, a gentleman by the name of Jim Barrett moved to Albany from Klamath Falls, and he formed the Sandy Am detachment of the Marine Corps League. And he and two other gentlemen, excuse me, and they went down and watched this, and they said, something got to happen here, or we just all need to go home. That began the process of the Lynn County's Veterans Day observance turning into the biggest and the largest and most well-known in the nation.
So that effort started in 1951. Is that correct?
That's when the Lynn County Veterans Council was formed. And again, these organizations then all came together, and that began the escalation of things. So we kind of look at 2011 as being the 60th anniversary.
And escalation it did. And you've got some pictures here. Raymond Burr was here at one point. There was
Yes.
Jimmy Doolittle was here at one point and observing. There was even Secretary of State Alexander Haig.
Alexander Haig, sitting Secretary of State.
Here honoring veterans on the Veterans Day here in Albany. The largest Veterans Day parade west of the Mississippi. That's quite an honor.
Yes, it is. It's an honor. I call it the largest all-volunteer Veterans Day parade in the country, and I haven't had a parade cop come along and show me where I'm wrong. But
So what you're doing is you're archiving that. You're looking for ways to document that and put that in our history so we don't forget. And you've got quite an array of pictures and stories here. And that's what you're doing at the Albany Regional Museum, isn't it? You're
exactly.
documenting the Veterans Day observance effort in Lynn County.
There's the old saying, if it ain't written down, it didn't happen. And to some extent, I agree with that. And so a little bit of background on these. There are nearly 4,000 photographs at the Albany Regional Museum of past Veterans Day events. Of course, we all look at the parade as the biggie. And actually, our whole Veterans Day program takes in about 2 weeks with all the events. And we have the banquet. We honor our local veterans. But the most important aspect of the whole thing is that memorial service at Timberland Park prior to the parade. But the parade is what the community sees and everybody sees, and that's where all the PR is. That memorial service, of course, honoring our veterans past, that is the biggie. But what happened was, back in the late 90s, we had, well, there was an office for years in the Chamber of Commerce office here. And in the late 90s, actually, the Lynn County Veterans Council dissolved due to lack of a lot of the help, a lot of problems there. And then a few months later, it was picked up by a lady from Lebanon, a Marine called Pat Mayfield, who formed the Veterans Commemoration Association.
Hoorah!
Hoo-yah!
Hoo-yah!
At any rate, there was a big remodeling job at the Chamber of Commerce office, right. And who do they call but me, because there's nobody else to come down and get 2 pickup loads of stuff. Among those 2 pickup loads was nearly 4,000 photographs and various documents, and it was all the history of everything we've done here. And I'm in the process of putting those photographs into archival binders as close as I can to the years that they were taken, because a lot of photographs. Here's a packet of pictures they got from the developers from back in those days. And
everybody, please turn off your cell phones.
Nothing to identify when. So I'm trying to unravel when and where these photographs, we know where they were taken. I'm trying to identify the time frame to get things in kind of the proper. That is what I'm doing.
Love history, and I love what you're doing. I'm not going to mention, I'm going to kind of tell a tale. I'm not going to mention the radio station. It's one of the stations I worked for in the past, but sometimes we are in a hurry to throw away the past. And what was happening at this radio station, Heritage Radio Station, somewhere in Oregon, that city shall remain nameless, as well as the radio station, but they were doing a cleanup. And all the historical, and there was a wealth of historical information at that station. A lot of it was thrown away and given away to just anybody, because they were looking to the future, and this is all just junk. And kind of like happened to you, where they called you down and said, take away this pickup load of stuff. That happens a lot. It happens too much. And then 50 years from now, man, that is gold, because that's our history, that's our past, that's where we came from, and we need to preserve that. So I really love what you're doing at the Albany Regional Museum. I had just enough on the ball to not do that with all of that 2 pickup loads of stuff that I held out. A lot of it was just simply redundant little notes and messages, but there was a lot of history there. And fortunately, the Albany Regional Museum kept those there. Good for them.
Otherwise, they'd be gone.
So what are you doing now? I've seen pictures of you going to pictures and so on and so forth. You're categorizing it. You're putting it on display. What exactly do you do to preserve this heritage?
Right now, I'm putting those photographs into a photograph album, a step or two above what we generally call it, but they're in archival boxes and archival plastic sleeves. You handle these things with vinyl or rubber gloves on, and you do your best to preserve the integrity. I look at the photograph and do my best to pinpoint the year or the time frame, and I got a stack of boxes of them down there because each one has a year in it, and that's what I'm doing. And one way, a lot of photographs, I identify them from pictures in past almanacs, and it shows that exact picture and the individual and so, but they're not all that way.
Can somebody come down there and maybe they've heard of history of maybe a great uncle or somebody who fought in the war and they just want to, or maybe they're just a history buff and they want to come and see the firsthand accounts of what happened, especially pertaining to the Veterans Day celebration. Can people just come down there and look through it? Or are we to that point yet?
I'm not going to speak for the museum on that aspect of things, but probably in around September or so, we're going to invite people to come down and go through these photographs to do a couple of things. One, help identify people, places, and things, and the other, exactly what you're just now saying. And we want history of anyone who served from this area in the military, but it's the Linn County Veterans Day thing and the Albany Regional Museum, so that kind of defines things a little.
So are you asking people if they want to, maybe they're going through, maybe they're doing house cleaning, maybe they're about ready to throw out some important stuff. If they're at that position, do you want them just to bring it to you? And what are you looking for? Pictures? Are you looking for hats, gloves, uniforms?
I'm looking for pictures and information about people who worked with the Veterans Day events here in Linn County. Newspaper articles, pictures of people, that type of thing. I want to document them as much as possible. And also, I want their little human interest stories, because there was a whole lot went on behind the scenes that the public never saw, and a lot of it is pretty humorous, a lot of it's real interesting about how this whole production comes to be. And I want their human interest stories, their interactions with various people, because some of the biggest leaders in this whole area were at the helm of this. I want to know the stories that took place to get it to where it is. As far as artifacts and things of that nature, if they're of an Albany person, then they would need to speak with Miss Kaylee there at the museum to see if it would fit their agenda, because they don't have the room to house everything that people want to give them. But there are other institutions that can. So,
what about recorded material? In fact, for example, Operation Eagle's Wings, which is the veterans outreach that we do in combination with Vets Helping Vets HQ here in Albany now. But a year or so ago, I believe it was last year, December 7th, 1941, the anniversary of the attack on Pearl Harbor, the Elks Lodge in Bend allowed us to do a streaming video webcast, and where we were there all day long. We ran into this gentleman who's one of their ancestors was a time life photographer for the U.S. Army, and he had a tremendous amount of photos. And so we put these on display and invited the public to come in and do it. And while we were doing that, we found World War II veterans that had a story to tell in Bend, and we streamed it and recorded it. In fact, it's on our YouTube account right now at Eagle's Wings. And I'm wondering if the Albany Regional Museum is interested in documented evidence like that, where the veterans are telling their stories about what it was like to be in combat, what it was like to live in that era, and some of their experiences. One of the people that we interviewed was one of the first SEAL team members. And talking about what he was talking about was the first scuba gear that they were trying to use, and they were basically improvising on the fly, and some of the stuff they had to use to make it work was quite interesting. Made it a very interesting story.
Well, things of that nature, in fact, exist there at the museum there in Albany, and of course they want it to be from Albany people because it's the Albany Regional Museum. But there are exactly those types of things there, and there's a very fascinating display of a journalist's writings during World War II. So those things are there, and he was an Albany man. And I don't know the equipment they have there to make a video of it, but they want those people's stories because the big part of Albany history is there, and the veterans around here there's an unbelievable amount of veterans that went, served well, and come home and just went about their job.
Do you want the stories in written form, recorded form, on audio tape, digital file? How do you want them?
Any way they can be put down.
Okay.
Written, they can come in and talk with me. All kind, just whatever, as long as we can get their stories.
How do they get in touch with you?
I have a cell phone, 541-401-1063, and our email address. Please keep the junk out of it. 46FORDPU@centurytel.net.
Okay, you want to repeat that email address again?
46FORDPU@centurytel.net.
So 46 Ford pickup. 46 Ford.
And I actually have one, yes.
Okay. And of course, if you want to replay this webcast or this broadcast of Valley Talk, you can go to our website, KGAL.com, and you can fast forward to that part of the show, and you can get that phone number or email address again. More with Louis White, volunteer with the Albany Regional Museum, depicting for us for eternity the history of the Veterans Day observance here in Albany. We'll talk more about that effort on Valley Talk when we continue with the show.
Going out to lunch at a nice restaurant can be expensive, and the big portions put you more in the mood for a nap than a productive afternoon. Mama's Fine Italian to the rescue. The small appetite senior menu is just right. Anyone and everyone is invited to order from the Light Appetites menu for lunch from 11 to 4 p.m. with tasty entrees beginning at only $3.95. Why go hungry or go anywhere else for lunch? Eat healthy, eat light at Mama's. Closed Sunday and Monday, so make the most of Tuesday through Friday and join your friends at Mama's for lunch. Dinner only on Saturday. Mama's features charbroiled steaks every day. Make reservations for dinner or pick up a bottle of fine wine. Seating is limited, so please call for reservations. 541-451-5050. That's 451-5050. Mama's Fine Italian and Wine Shop on West Oak between Main and 2nd in Lebanon, across from the Big Blue Napa Auto Parts building.
Here's something to sing about. The crabs are here. Live crabs in the tank at Harry and Annette's Fresh Fish in Corvallis. Every day can be a crab feast at your house. All it takes is to stop at Harry and Annette's. While you're there, get your order in for the big sports parties coming up. Annette's party trays, crab cakes, and other specialties will make any party a winner. Don't wait. The crabs are in the tank and waiting for you. Harry and Annette's Fresh Fish, First in Monroe in the Water Street Market in downtown Corvallis.
The most important person in your life, next to your family, may be your hairdresser. That's why you should know that Chris and Pam Solberg, former owners of Hair Express, have relocated to Brownsville. There they've opened Studio 709, whose phone number is 541-466-3250. They'll still bring out the best in you from Studio 709, 709 Amelia Street in Brownsville. Phone number 466-3250.
When you look out across the Willamette Valley, you'll see plenty of banking choices. Willamette Community Bank is here to give you an option that's pretty unique, like no other, in fact. Hi, this is Sue Kalina, Relationship Manager. Willamette Community Bank provides an alternative to large national and regional banks by offering customized financial services and local decision-making to benefit local people, local families, and local businesses. How many banks can say that?
Willamette Community Bank, service like no other. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
More Ink Printing in Albany. The same people and the same passion for printing and serving you.
I'm Mike from More Ink. At More Ink, we can make your presentations pop, your business cards connect, and your brochures become bold. Letterheads, manuals, menus, flyers, event posters, and programs. We do it all at More Ink.
Mike and his crew at More Ink are still around to get your custom projects noticed. More Ink on Sandy M Road in the Carriage House Plaza in Albany. Visit moreincalbany.com.
Call 541-928-2675 for More Ink.
The Morning Update, weekday mornings on News Talk 1580, KGAL.
Welcome back to Valley Talk. In the studio today, we have Louis White, and thank you, Louis, for the efforts you're doing as a volunteer with the Albany Regional Museum to keep the history of the Veterans Day observance here in Albany, in Lebanon, the Mid-Willamette Valley.
Lynn County.
One of the things that we were talking about during the break, which is very interesting to me, is I love history, and obviously you do too. But you're telling me there's going to be a Marne taxi, and this is a living piece of history from World War I, and it's going to be in Lebanon this Saturday. First of all, tell us what the Marne taxi is, and tell us what's going to be happening.
Well, Dave, in World War I, doughboys were ferried to the front lines, among other ways, in a Marne taxi. And the Marne Motor Company later became Renault. At any rate, there is one functional Marne taxi in the world, and it's owned by a 40-8 Voyager up in Portland. They're going to bring that down to Lebanon by trailer Saturday. It'll be on display in the parking lot by the flagpole at the American Legion Post 51 in Lebanon at 480 Main, and I don't know the exact hours, but it'll be there on display, and people can see it, hear it run, have their picture taken, so forth.
Now, it doesn't, because somebody forgot to grease the transmission, it doesn't actually run under its own power down the street, so they have to trailer it, but the engine still runs. Is that what you're saying? The
engine runs, and up until recently, they could drive it around.
Oops.
Until a big oops happened, and incidentally, need that transmission repaired. But
can it be fixed?
Pardon me?
Can the transmission be fixed?
Yes, anything can be fixed.
Okay, there you go.
But that particular taxi still has the bullet holes where they ferried doughboys to the front lines. So it is a living piece of World War I history, the only one in the world.
So people can stop by and take a look at it, have their picture taken, touch it, feel it.
Have their picture taken with it.
There you go. Why do you do what you do? What drives you to keep doing this? And I'm sure you put quite a bit of effort into this. I've seen your pictures. You're down there sorting pictures, putting them in photo albums. Obviously, you're a Vietnam-era veteran. You served Blue Water, which means, and you were on a carrier.
Yes. Why do I do?
Yeah.
You know,
why do you do this?
I don't have an explanation for it. You just do what you got to do, and I got my nose into it, putting together this history of, for the 60th anniversary of the Lynn County Veterans Day observance here, and pretty soon it's, kind of like a big snowball.
Yeah.
It gets bigger and bigger, and pretty soon it consumes you. I don't know. All I know is I like one of the neatest projects I've worked on is looking at this. It shows the heart and soul of Lynn County. We defy all of the negative PR over the years that comes out on things. We show what we are really made of. We love our veterans here, and we honor them. And the more I get into this, the more that I see it, obvious in these pictures. And this can't be forgotten. It can't be let to go. So
if you're working on an estate or clearing out the basement or an attic or something, and you're coming across some pictures maybe of the Veterans Day observances in Lynn County, or in Lynn County specifically, or maybe someone who lived here, who served in the military, and maybe you're a family going through an estate or whatever, and you don't know what to do with these pictures or these artifacts. Maybe they're medals, maybe they're caps or whatever. Then Louis would like a call from you.
Yes. And again, they have these mementos, artifacts, and so forth, and if it's something that cannot be dealt with there at the museum here in Albany, there are places that they can be, so that they're not lost. So,
what else is there at the Albany Regional Museum? It's not simply a military museum, but it's the history of Lynn County.
Oh, it's history of Albany. You go see, there's a big timber carnival display. Most of that was donated by the late Roger Schrader, but other people helped with that display. There's Camp Adair displays. There's the shoe shine stand from Rufus and his wife that was there close to the Venetian Theater. That is there in the museum. There's displays of clothes worn by ladies in Albany and way back at the turn of the century. The things in that museum abound. Plus there's I believe it's a Russell Tripp research center there. Okay, I've already said the name, but there may be a different name. But there's a research center there to research the history of Albany. So and in fact, in the first part of this narrative on 1951, is just a rambling things that happened in 1951 here in Lynn County. That was taken off of the front pages of the Greater Oregon that they have preserved there. So it's hard to just go through the whole thing and say this is what's there, because the more I look, the more I see. But there are military displays in there. There's displays of what Albany used to be, what happened here, and the people that made up the town.
Louis, thank you for all you do. Thank you for service to your country during the Vietnam conflict. And if people want to contact you, how again do they do that? Give me your phone number and your email address. 541-401-1063 or 46FORDPU at centurytel.net. Okay.
Incidentally, we were winning when I left.
What's that?
We were winning when I left.
Good on you. Hey, thank you for being with us on Valley Talk, and we do want to remind you once again to sign up for the Quiznos Taste on Us giveaway, $10 gift certificate we're going to give away at the end of the show. Simply send me an email. Dave@KGAL.com is the email address. Put Quiznos or Taste on Us on the subject line, or if you want, you can call the station, and the phone numbers to call are 926-KGAL or 451-KGAL. Thank you to Dale and the crew at Quiznos in Albany for being a part of the Valley Talk family here on KGAL. They're located next to Novak's Restaurant and also next to the former G.I. Joe Sporting Goods location. Louis, looking forward to having you back again on Valley Talk.
Thank you.
More to come on the show today, and we are going to be talking about gluten-free lifestyle with Nadine, and why in the world do we want to do that? She's with a business called RN On Call. That when Valley Talk continues. Be right back.
The Osgood File, sponsored in part by Regis. Getting intentional about growing your business is smart. Get 2 months free on a prestigious furnished office from Regis. Call 1-800-OFFICES. This is Charles Osgood. Football players who've taken the most hits in the head over the longest time are the retired pros. They've played since they were kids in high school, most of them, and more years in college, and if they're good and durable enough, against the hardest hits of all in the NFL. For UCLA scientists researching the long-term effects of concussions and other mild brain injuries, as our CBS News colleague Begad Shaban, it figures that players like Wayne Clark would be helpful.
Former San Diego Chargers quarterback Wayne Clark took his share of hits during his NFL career in the 70s.
The concussion gave me an amnesia for a while. A couple of years later, I had another minor concussion.
Now 65, Clark took part in a study that looked at retired football players and mild traumatic brain injuries.
The story after this. Most people who run a small business will tell you that there are limits to what any one person can get done in a single day. After all that buying, selling, handshaking, even the best multitaskers start to feel overwhelmed at times. But remember, you're not alone. The UPS store in your neighborhood is ready to help. With professional printing services like brochures, flyers, and business cards, your hard work will be represented the way you intended. Their mailbox solutions save time, make life easier. With a real street address, email, or text notifications when mail and packages arrive, and package acceptance from any carrier. Also, their custom packing and shipping solutions give you confidence that your shipment's been packed with the know-how of a certified packing expert. With all these great services in one convenient location, you'll find that multitasking is as easy as visiting your local UPS store. To find a location near you, visit theupsstore.com.
The UPS Store franchise locations are independently owned and operated. Services, pricing, and hours of operation may vary by location. See Center for details.
In studying the brain of a retired NFL player like Wayne Clark, says Begad Shaban,
researchers at UCLA developed a brain imaging tool to identify abnormal proteins, known as tau proteins, that are associated with chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE.
Dr. Gary Small, lead author of the study, explains.
It occurs in professional athletes, and one sees impairment in memory, sometimes dementia, sometimes behavioral problems, depression, suicidal behavior.
Wayne Clark isn't suffering from any of that, says Shaban.
Right now, he has age-appropriate memory loss. Both he and researchers hope the findings will lead to treatment of CTE in its early stages.
That is Clark's diagnosis, though, because his brain did show high levels of that tau protein. Until his case, you could only diagnose CTE in an autopsy. That's a dubious distinction, Wayne realizes, but he hopes it keeps the research going.
Eventually find out how we can address this problem in living people as opposed to waiting until we're dead.
The Osgood File. Charles Osgood on the CBS Radio Network.
The Calapooya Brewing Company in Albany has the finest handcrafted brews in the valley. Available in their pub, kegs, and half-gallon chugs. Live music 3 nights a week, the best beer, the best burgers, and sandwiches in Albany. Owners Mark and Laura invite you once again to the Calapooya Brewing Company as they host the 14th Annual Greater Albany Rotary Club Crab Fest Dinner, Saturday, February 2nd from noon till 8 p.m. Tickets available at Calapooya Brewing Company, 140 Hill Street Northeast in Albany. See you there.
Ever thought you were getting a free service that turned out to be anything but?
Bait and switch.
When I do my taxes online, I use taxact.com.
Taxact.com.
Their code is like mine.
Integrity.
They mean what they say.
Simplicity.
It's fast and easy.
Value.
It's free for all e-filable federal forms.
Free.
Taxact.com. It's how we act.
Taxact.com.
Wearing glasses with Crizal lenses can make a big difference in your vision. Neither the sandstorms of the Mojave Desert, nor the dust and dirt of a Texas rodeo, nor the glare of the bright lights of Broadway can keep you from having the clearest vision possible. For no-glare lenses with great water, dirt, dust, scratch, and smudge resistance, choose Crizal. Live life in the clear. That's C-R-I-Z-A-L. Crizal. Ask for them at your eye care professional.
Less hype, just quality news, sports, and smart talk. From your friends at 1580 KGAL.
This is Valley Talk, and thank you for being with us today. I'm Dave Adams. Glad to have you with us. Don't forget to sign up for the Quiznos Taste on Us. Again, Dave at KGAL.com is the email address. And then also you can call the station at 451-KGAL or 926-KGAL. Second part of the show, we're going to be talking about gluten-free lifestyle. And in the studios with us is Nadine. Nadine, thank you for being with us on Valley Talk today.
Yes.
We're also going to be talking about a rally for universal health care that's going to be in Oregon at the state capitol in Salem, February 4th. But first of all, as we were just mentioning with our first guest just a moment ago, as we were talking about veterans issues, in between the transition, he was saying, we just recently we found out that there were such things as gluten-free, and gluten is wheat, correct?
Wheat, barley, rye, and oats, correct.
Why should we be interested in a gluten-free lifestyle, first of all?
The number one reason is because we forgot about celiac disease in this country for at least 60 years, and so there's a lot of people that actually have celiac disease or gluten intolerance, and they don't know it. So what people are finding is that they are actually intolerant of what we've been eating for a number of years.
They don't know it, but yet they're intolerant. So what kind of symptoms are they having that they haven't kind of put 2 to 2 together again?
Well, in this country, for the last couple of years, we've focused on GI problems such as diarrhea or nausea, vomiting, bloating, things like that. But the reality is a lot of neurological symptoms or skin issues are related to gluten exposure also.
Are they simply allergic to wheat products, or what's
No, it's actually an autoimmune response. So it triggers our body into an autoimmune response. So it causes our body to attack itself. So in that sense, we can see a lot of symptoms from head to toe that are associated with gluten intolerance or celiac disease that are being misdiagnosed.
So you have a business called RN On Call. At first glance, what does an RN On Call do with gluten-free intolerance? And connect the dots for me here.
In my former life, I was an ER nurse and worked in the emergency and trauma centers across the state of Oregon, and found out I had celiac disease totally by accident, but not until I had multi-system organ failure in October 2006. And went on a gluten-free diet and got so much better. Within 4 months, I started RN On Call, which is a mobile nursing service. And then within another month, I was so horrified by what I truly found out about gluten intolerance and celiac disease, I started the gluten-free RN and have been doing that successfully for the last 6 years.
So what is it that you do?
I speak nationally and now internationally about celiac disease, and I do private consultations, education, help people get the correct testing that they need.
So if somebody is possibly having, I guess, for lack of a better term, we'll call it intestinal discomfort. Sometimes it's, you just don't feel good when after certain meals that you eat and you haven't been able to connect it in your mind about why sometimes I feel really bad, and why sometimes they don't feel quite so bad. It might be gluten in your diet.
Correct. And we find that it, like I said, it has a lot to do with symptoms, neurological symptoms too. So migraine headaches, seizure disorders, many different things that it presents as many different symptoms.
Are the people that may be needing to talk to you, have they gone to physicians possibly and been misdiagnosed, or they really don't know what's going on and they're just kind of wandering around out there?
That's the case. And what we find also is that in Italy or wherever they have socialized medicine or single payer healthcare, is that people get diagnosed quickly. So in Italy, it takes 2 to 3 weeks to get diagnosed correctly with celiac disease. In this country, it takes on average of 9 to 15 years, if ever. So a lot of people have died without actually knowing what actually killed them, which was the celiac disease.
Why? That's a huge difference. And one would say, you know, I don't want to use the word miscarriage, but that's, you know, there are a lot of people out there that are suffering because of that.
Correct.
So why the difference in the types of medicine you talked about? You know, there are some people in this country that don't, as soon as you say socialized medicine,
I know,
it gets very political very fast.
Exactly.
And there's terms that are thrown out there, Obamacare, and you get the left versus the right, and then you get very, very political.
Correct.
Right now. So let's talk about just the health aspects of this, and let's compare the two areas of medicine. You called it socialized medicine, diagnosed much faster than the healthcare we have here in the country. Why is that? Okay, so in the United States, we have for-profit healthcare system. And in other countries where it's a national health plan, people get diagnosed quicker with celiac disease, costs the system less money. But in this country, when people actually have celiac disease, typically what we find is they get treated for their symptoms for years, but never really tested for celiac disease proper. Why? Why don't we do that here?
Because we literally forgot about celiac disease in about 1952. It was not researched, or we knew about it in 1888, and then in 1950 there were several dozen major studies being done about celiac disease in this country. But historically, why it went away was World War II ended and we had a population boom, and the government decided with the agribusiness to grow a couple things: wheat, corn, soy, a lot of the things that we still grow today. And they said, the farmers actually said, what about the people that can't eat wheat? And basically what happened was they said, we know some people are going to get sick, we know some people are going to die, but for the greater good, we're going to do this. And so they did, and that's actually what we've been doing for the last 60 years. And then what happened in about 1998, a bunch of foreign doctors came here, gastroenterologists, and they said, where are all your celiac patients? They asked that of their physicians here, and our physicians here said, we don't have celiac disease here. And the foreign doctors said, that's really funny because it's genetic. Where are they all? And so those are the doctors that actually head up the celiac disease centers that are primarily on the East Coast.
Interesting. We also have in the studio Michael Hunington, who is a retired radiation oncologist. Way into the conversation here. What's your take on this?
Well, I was a radiation oncologist and saw in our practice that the patients came in for treatment very late, and you can guess why. They felt they could not afford their health insurance. So they would come in after 3 years of symptoms of chest pain or abdominal pain or some other symptom, and in a crisis often. And then, of course, we would make the diagnosis of cancer and pour hundreds of thousands of dollars into trying to help those people. Well, I started to realize that our system was excluding these people. The United States is the only country that systematically excludes people by income, for example, or if a person has a pre-existing condition, they are denied health insurance because insurance companies in this country stay in business by avoiding risk. And when you avoid risk in healthcare, that means you avoid people who might get sick or who are sick. So I was seeing the results of that in the cancer center. People who were excluded from the healthcare system would come in with advanced cancers. This got me pretty upset.
Are you seeing the system that we now have as broken?
I'd say it's not only broken, but it's not even a system. Other countries have real systems that include everybody, and their overall health is much better, and they pay less. They pay half of what we do in this country.
Okay, I'm going to ask a couple questions here. The first one could be construed as being very political, but I'm going to ask it anyway. The Obama health care plan, and I'm not going to tell you what to say or how to say it. Is this the right thing to do?
I think it's a step in the right direction, but only a small step. There are many good things in the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare, including keeping children up to age 26 on parents' policies, including focusing on primary care and preventative care. Those are very important things, but it's all based on the private health insurance system, which takes at least 15% just for administrative costs and causes another 15% of administrative costs among providers like Gluten-Free RN and others. So it's a very big overhead administrative cost that's induced by the for-profit incentive to make money on the financing of healthcare.
And let's say that we made you, I don't want to use the word czar, but let's say we've made you the president of healthcare in the country and said, okay, here's the problem, fix it. What would you do?
I would follow other countries' leads and explore what worked and what didn't work. And I'm pretty sure what I'd find out is if we put everybody in one single risk pool, like made Medicare for all, that we could afford to provide health care for everybody at half the cost that we do now. And now we're supplying health care to only about 2/3 of our people rather than everyone. So I would, to put it in a quick phrase, extend Medicare and improve Medicare to all.
The way that the current administration is doing that is forcing people to do that. Some people are saying they should have the constitutional right to say no. What would you say if we take this a little further? And what would you say to the critics of the plan stating that it is not constitutional in this country to force people to have health plan or pay for it?
I would agree that it's unconstitutional or may be considered unconstitutional to force people to buy a private product that is unreliable. And in this country, buying private health insurance gives you unreliable results. You may find too late in the fine print that you have a pre-existing condition or that the policy doesn't cover what you think it does.
But when we talk about universal health care, aren't we talking about doing that?
We are, and in that case, we are not forcing people to buy a private, flawed product. We are agreeing as a nation that we each are better off if we all have health care. And that is constitutional, just as constitutional as Social Security is, or Medicare is.
Okay, that takes us to talk about the rally here, February 4th. Do you, Nadine, want to talk about that, or Michael?
We can both talk about it.
Okay.
We have a healthcare rally on the steps of the state capitol on February 4th, starting at 10 a.m., and we are going to visit all of the legislators after that event or during that event. We have buses that are taking our people to the Capitol, to Salem, and we're very excited about it. We're following Vermont's lead in that we're all wearing red shirts that say Healthcare for All, Oregon, and there'll be several speakers there at the rally. We're very excited about this event.
What do you think about the national debate on this issue? It's being called, if you listen to a lot of talk show hosts, it's Obamacare. Almost Obamacare is evil, and the way that we're doing it, there's a better answer, but it's not Obamacare. I'm sure you've heard the dialogue, you've heard the conversation. First of all, what do you think about the polarization that's been going on?
Well, I think the polarization is interesting, and people will frequently say, well, I want the freedom to I have my own health care, the health care that I worked for or whatever. But the reality is that people lose their freedom with the health care that they have when they get sick. a lot of people actually will lose the health care that they were counting on. And that's what we see, is that 97% or a number of the bankruptcies that occur are people that actually had health care insurance. So if we're going to talk about freedom within our country, it allows people the freedom to move into different jobs without losing health care, or start a business, or the freedom to, maybe divorce the person they don't like, but they're trapped in a marriage that because for health care. So this allows a lot more freedom if you know that you can have a basic health care coverage that you can count on.
Not trying to turn this into a political show, but let's talk about Obamacare. That's what's on the table right now. That's what we're looking at as being proposed by the current administration as a solution to the problem that I think pretty much everybody agrees is broken.
Correct.
Obamacare, is that a good step? In what way?
It is a good step in that it allows people that had previously been uncovered by any insurance to actually have some insurance, or have an assurance that they can be treated if they need to be. So it's a little bit of a safety net, but it's certainly not enough.
What do you think we need to do?
I think we need to cover everybody. We pay for everybody anyway, and we don't have very good outcomes. We absolutely need to cover everybody. As a former emergency room nurse, we used to see it every day, that we see everybody that shows up at that door, and but our outcomes typically are not very good for our current system. We need to revamp the entire system from top to bottom.
Do you think that, speaking as a person who gets the hospital bills and ER bills and so on and so forth, when you go to the emergency room and you get a bill for $1,500, $2,000 for one visit, that is huge. And for a lot of people, they simply can't afford that. So where do we go forward? What do we do?
Well, in Oregon, there is a bill being introduced in this session of the legislature. It's called Healthcare for All Oregon Act. It has a legislative concept number of 1914 right now, being introduced by Representative Michael Hunington of Portland. So we can start the motion here in Oregon towards what some people call a single-payer system. It doesn't have to be just a single-payer system. It can be multiple payers functioning through a single-payer, publicly managed system that other countries successfully use. So that's one way people can get involved, is to learn more about what Oregon is doing this session, and to come to the rally on February 4th to learn more about that.
Do you think we waste a lot of money in healthcare today?
Absolutely.
In what areas?
And as far as I can tell, from every area, from prescription medications to overuse of testing to unnecessary surgeries, all kinds of things.
That's the way we finance our healthcare system. We need enough people to be sick enough to come in to get MRIs and to get special studies and special treatments, that we can earn the money to then pay the nurses and the housekeeping staff.
Okay, we need to take one more quick break here. We're going to talk more about this, and we'll try to get some information in here about RN on Call once again with Nadine. We're talking to Michael Hunington, a retired radiation oncologist, and Nadine with RN on Call. This is Valley Talk. More in a moment.
Quail Run Assisted Living at Mennonite Village is designed to accommodate the changing needs of its residents. Private studio and one-bedroom apartments with kitchenettes combine convenience and comfort, with 24-hour availability of personal assistance and support. Private studio and one-bedroom apartments come with 3 farm-fresh meals served daily in the central dining room, housekeeping, transportation, and a variety of activities and personalized services to help each resident live a happy, rich life among friends. A wide range of social and wellness programs are offered to meet individual interests, including outdoor gardening, shopping and day trips, scenic walks, cooking and baking, art and music. Mennonite Village is where you'll find superior standards and amazing levels of devotion. The proof is in their reputation and resident satisfaction. One-bedroom and studio apartments are currently available. Call Crystal at 541-928-1122, 928-1122, or visit MennoniteVillage.org.
That's someone enjoying a wonderful meal at McDonald's. That's someone enjoying a refreshing Coca-Cola for only $1. And that's the harmonious flavor of McDonald's and any size icy cold Coca-Cola soft drink or sweet tea for just $1. It's hard to describe it any other way. The simple joy of a la carte only. Prices and participation may vary. Limited time offer.
Listen up, team. There's a bunch of hungry football fans outside. Everyone loves you. You're juicy, tender, and crispy. And when they dunk you in spicy buffalo and creamy ranch sauces, you'll turn these fans into Chicken McNuggets fanatics. Are you ready?
Quit the pep talk and pass the Mickey D's, man. Yeah, halftime's almost over.
The fans have spoken. Go kick some taste buds.
The colossal 40-piece Chicken McNuggets. Now just $8.99. More tastiness to love only at McDonald's. For a limited time only, prices and participation may vary. McDonald's is a proud sponsor of the National Football League.
Huge January closeout on now at John & Phil Subaru in Corvallis. Great Subaru deals at the only Subaru dealer in the Mid-Willamette Valley. From the coast to the Cascades, Corvallis to Albany. From the new compact SUVs to the pet-friendly family wagons and high-performance cars to outdoor sports like skiing and fishing and one of the safest vehicles in the automotive world, all help make Subaru the world's top-selling four-wheel drive vehicle. Buy now during the huge January closeout at John & Phil Subaru in Corvallis. Incredible Subaru deals now at John & Phil Subaru off Highway 99 at 800 Northwest 5th Street in Corvallis.
There's a new way to save on next year's straw harvest, and you'll find it now at Lynn Benton Tractor. It's called the Big Pack 1290, and it's Krohn's latest large square baler with a high-density press that increases the weight of each bale by 25%. That means fewer bales per acre, faster baling, and lower production and storage costs. For bales like bricks, see the Big Pack 1290 HDP by Krohn, now at Lynn Benton Tractor.
Lynn Benton Tractor. We're still doing business the American way.
Clarity over agreement. Expected from Dennis Prager, weekday mornings at 9 on Smart Talk 1580.
Valley Talk, and we're talking to Michael Hunington, retired radiation oncologist, Nadine with RN On Call. What we're probably going to do is bring them back on the show to talk about this healthcare. It's something we want to talk about. We want to have a dialogue. One of the mission statements of this show is if the Valley's talking about it or we need to talk about it, we want to talk about it. So we want to talk about it more. First of all, Nadine, let's talk about RN On Call again. Gluten-free lifestyle. If people have heard what you talked about earlier in the show, they want to talk to you. How do they get in touch with you?
I'm going to give you my phone number. It's 541-602-1065. I also have an office in Corvallis. It's under the Dark Side Cinema and on 4th Street, 215 Southwest 4th Street. Please come by and visit us because it's the only office like it in the entire country. We have information about celiac disease from around the world.
Let's talk about healthcare once again. First of all, mention the Universal Healthcare Rally. Time and date of that again, please.
Right. There will be a rally on the Capitol steps in Salem on February 4th, beginning at 11:30. But we encourage you to arrive an hour ahead of time to take part in petitions and other activities.
Now, one of the things that I want to talk about when we bring you guys back, and we'll have to look at our schedule and see when we can do that, I'd like to, especially with your experience as working in the healthcare industry, let's tear it apart and see and talk about what's working and what's not working. There are some people that say, well, let the free enterprise system deal with it and, let me have my choice about what policy I want to do to provide the coverage. We're out of time here, but in about 60 seconds, talk to me about what's wrong with the system, how we need to fix it. If we put you in charge,
yes,
Michael.
First of all, we've tried the free enterprise system for the last 100 years, and we now have a third of us unable to get adequate health care, either because we're uninsured or underinsured. That has to change. It is a hazard for our nation, our workforce, our sense of well-being.
But I come to you and say, I don't want you to force me as the government to tell me what I have to do. This is America.
All right. I would say to remind everybody that each of us is better off when we're all better off. And you can think of whether you would like people harvesting and handling your food who don't have access to health care.
Okay. We have to cut it off right there. We're running out of time. I'm Dave Adams, Valley Talk. We'll let you know when we'll bring them back, and we'll tear apart the healthcare industry and say, this is what we think.
Locally owned and operated, this is the very independent News Talk 1580 KGAL, Lebanon, Albany, Corvallis.